Rio Grande offers 2 sizes of Swanstrom wire looping pliers and 1 accessory kit for each size. The pin plate should move freely against the plier, allowing the wire to center itself when closing the jaws to achieve the most uniform loop. Do not try to tighten this plate. Notice the adjustable set screw on the side of the pliers. Using the Allen wrench provided with the pliers, turn the screw to adjust the gap between the jaws to leave enough room to keep from marring or cutting through your wire. Insert about 1 inch of your wire, depending on the gauge and design, into the wire bending eyelet on the side of the pliers and make a 180-degree bend. Carefully remove the wire from the eyelet and place the bent part of the wire about halfway down the loop-making centering pin between the jaws. Once the wire is positioned, gently close the jaws, forming a loop around the pin. From this point on, keep the jaws closed until you are ready to remove the loop from the pin plate. Bend the short length of wire 90 degrees, flat against the top surface of the jaw. Using chain nose pliers, grip and steady the short length as you rotate the wire looping pliers around, wrapping the longer length of wire. 3 to 5 turns around is usually enough. Once you reach the end of the wire, you can either tuck in the short tail or clip it off using flush cutters. You now have a finished wire-wrapped loop. Slide your bead onto the wire, placing it next to your finished loop. Estimate how much length you will need for your wraps and the loop and insert the wire into the wire bending eyelet. Bend the wire back 180 degrees and carefully remove it from the eyelet. Place the bent part of the wire halfway down the loop-making centering pin between the jaws. Gently close the jaws, forming a loop around the pin. Take the piece of wire and wrap it around until it almost meets the bead. Cut off the excess wire and tuck in the tail. You have now created a wire-wrapped beaded component. If you want to link 2 components, take a new piece of wire and bend it 180 degrees in the wire bending eyelet. Slide the beaded component onto the wire all the way to the bend. Notice the slot at the back of the pin where you can rest the component to prevent damaging it while you work. Wrap the wire with your fingers or chain nose pliers as you did before. Tuck in the tail or clip it off and lift the component off the pin. Add the next bead to the wire. As in the previous steps, insert the wire into the wire bending eyelet and make a 180-degree bend. Remove the wire from the eyelet and place the bent part around the pin. Gently squeeze the jaws closed to form a loop and wrap the wire around as you did before. The accessory kit for the small pliers include a spiral plate. To make spiral components using the spiral plate, begin as if you were making a wrapped loop by inserting the wire into the wire bending eyelet and making a 180-degree bend. Remove the wire and place it about halfway down the loop-making pin. Keeping the pliers firmly closed, bend the long length of the wire to a 90-degree angle. Slide the spiral plate onto the short length of wire with the black nib facing down toward the top surface of the jaws. Begin slowly rotating the pliers as you press them against the spiral plate, still firmly pressing your fingers against the spiral plate from the other side. As you rotate the pliers, the black nib will be pushing against the wire, coiling it around to make the spiral. It is very important that you maintain pressure at all times while also gripping the pliers to keep the jaws closed. Once all of your wire has been used, remove the spiral plate from the short length of wire to check your spiral. You now have a spiral component to use in your jewelry designs. With your new Swanstrom wire looping pliers, you will be able to make consistent, perfect loops and wraps every time. The spiral components that you create yourself will add versatility and personality to every piece you make. Before long, one of our favorite tools will also be one of your favorite tools.